Welcome to the deep dive. So you sent us these excerpts from Trevor Noah's Born a Crime extended essay, and we're going to dig into it.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff.
Right from the get-go, what really struck me was that core idea. His birth itself, to a black mother and a white father in apartheid South Africa, was literally a crime.
Absolutely. That's the hook, isn't it?
Yeah.
His existence was illegal. It immediately tells you this isn't just a memoir.
No.
We're looking at a system where, love, family, it could actually be punished by the state.
Yeah.
Sets the whole scene.
And it's not just some dry historical account either. He uses so much humor, even when talking about really, really painful things.
Yeah, that wit is sort of his lens, isn't it? A way to process it all.
Definitely. So our mission today is really to unpack how those early years, being born into that contradiction, how it shaped him, his worldview.
Right. We're talking race, identity, resilience.
And just the power of telling your story, really.
Okay, so let's start with that world defined by crime. Chapter 1 really lays out the apartheid context. And it's important to grasp, it wasn't just segregation.
Right.
It was this whole legal framework designed to separate everyone by race.
Yeah.
And it criminalized fundamental things like interracial relationships.
Which means
his very existence as a mixed-race child was against the law.
So you have this immediate paradox for him. He's there, people can see him, but legally, socially, he doesn't fit neatly anywhere.
Exactly. Visible, but invisible. Accepted one minute, rejected the next. It's like a constant tightrope.
Yeah, and chapter 2 makes that so concrete. The details, like his mom, Patricia, having to pretend she was his nanny.
Just to be seen with him in public, yeah.
Or his father not being able to walk down the street with them.
Can you imagine that constant, low-level fear and secrecy just woven into their daily life?
It hammers home how obsessed society was with these racial boxes and how arbitrary yet brutally enforced they were.
He was an anomaly. Didn't fit. It really pushes that question, is race inherent, or is it something society just constructs?
And then uses to control people.
Precisely. And speaking of defiance, out of this comes his mother, Patricia. Chapter 3.
Wow. Indomitable is the word.
Yeah, maybe even an understatement. Fearless, principled.
Yeah.
She had this deep conviction about living with purpose, even inside those insane constraints.
And her strictness, which he talks about with humor, you see, it was this fierce kind of love, right? Equipping him.
Totally. That and her faith. It was clearly a foundation, giving them guidance, community.
And she actively pushed back, finding ways to live in white areas, which was illegal, insisting he learn multiple languages. She just refused to accept the limits they tried to impose.
And crucially, she wouldn't let him see himself as just a victim. Despite the poverty the system stacked against them, she instilled this incredible sense of self-worth.
Yeah, she wouldn't let apartheid define his potential.
Which leads us perfectly into language, chapter 4. Because in that time and place, language wasn't just communication.
No, it was everything. Your identity marker, your tribe.
Your social group, yeah.
Yeah.
And Trevor becoming fluent in several languages, the essay stresses the multiple part.
Right.
That gave him this kind of passport. He could move between different worlds. Zulu kids, white schools, colored townships. Language was the key.
It wasn't just about chatting. It was pure survival sometimes.
Yeah.
Adapting, blending in.
Diffusing situations, maybe. Yeah. It forced him to develop this fluid sense of identity.
Then chapter 5 brings in the economic reality, the hardship.
Yeah, the Malaitane worms, the minibus taxis. They sound like quirky stories,
Right.
but they show the daily grind of poverty under that system.
But again, Patricia's reaction wasn't despair. It was dignity, maintaining self-respect even when they had almost nothing.
And out of that necessity, you see Trevor developing this hustle early on.
The entrepreneurial spirit, yeah. Selling bootleg CDs, DJing.
Reselling stuff. It wasn't just kid stuff. It was learning resourcefulness, resilience, finding opportunities because he had to.
Ingenuity born from need.
Exactly. Then, chapter 6. Religion plays such a huge part. Patricia's devout Christianity.
The 3 churches every Sunday. That image is something else.
Right. Each one different vibe, a different community. It gave them structure, faith. But it also seems like it sparked questions in Trevor.
Yeah, you see that dynamic. He respects her faith deeply, but he's also starting to, question the logic, observe the contradictions.
Kind of like early training for his comedy, maybe. Observing society, critiquing norms.
Could be. Okay, chapter 7 really tackles the messy stuff of his identity. Mixed race, feeling like an outsider everywhere.
That constant in-between, not quite fitting in with black communities, definitely not white. Even the colored community wasn't straightforward.
Not black enough, not white enough.
Yeah. And he talks about the social awkwardness, the loneliness, trying to fit in.
But it feels like that outsider view became like a superpower almost. It gave him empathy.
Yeah, that marginalization, however painful, it probably fostered that ability to see things from different angles. Maybe the roots of his comedy are right there.
Finding the absurd in it all. Then Chapter 8, Education. The massive inequality.
Oh, yeah. Stark. The difference between resources in white schools and black schools. Just worlds apart. Another example of the system's injustice.
But he found his own way, didn't he? Through books, stories, his interest in tech.
He wasn't just relying on the formal system.
Mm.
Self-teaching, street smarts,
Mm-hmm.
they were just as important for his education.
Right. And then Chapter 9, the domestic violence with Abel. That's tough reading.
It is. Very difficult.
Yeah.
The essay traces that awful shift from charm to abuse, and Trevor witnessing his mother go through that.
It's incredibly raw and honest about the impact. And Patricia's survival after being shot, it's just unbelievable.
Miraculous. And the book doesn't hold back on criticizing the system's failures, how it enables that kind of abuse.
It's personal, but it speaks to much bigger issues, a call for accountability.
Definitely. Which brings us to Chapter 10, sort of tying it all together. It really drives home that this book is more than just his story.
It's social commentary.
Yeah, on apartheid's legacy, economic inequality, language politics, systemic abuse, all of it.
And you see the direct line from those early, often traumatic experiences to his global success now. He carries that perspective.
It's an incredible story of resilience, ultimately, how you can not just survive something like apartheid, but rise above it.
And it champions the power of telling your story, using laughter, using words as tools for change, for hope.
So looking back at this deep dive, what stands out is how Trevor Noah's life, starting as, well, a crime, became this source of profound insight into identity, oppression, family, the human spirit.
It really does, and it leaves you, the listener, thinking, doesn't it? How have your own experiences, maybe the challenging ones, the ones that make you feel different, how have they shaped your unique view?
Right. What can your own story reveal, not just about you, but about the world around us?
It's that powerful idea, again, that even in the toughest circumstances, there's always potential for growth, for deeper understanding.